Hi, I have a special guest here, and he's going to introduce himself and what his career is.
Hi, aloha. My name is Ko'ohi. I am a Zumba and fitness instructor out in Hawaii and a Group X fitness instructor, by the way, too. But what's up, Haley?
How are you?
Good.
I have a couple questions for you today. So I wanted to ask you, when did you start your career as a Zumba instructor?
Ooh, when did I start it? I actually, as a Zumba instructor, I started off 4 years ago. I just made 4 years. It was always that fear of jumping into the gym. I remember I used to be one that used to go by the gym, but never go inside the gym. I feel like the whole word gym has this wall and this um, misdemeanor to itself where we're like scared to jump inside. But thanks to you, you're one of them. You are literally one of my, I call it branches of my fitness journey. I remember you told me like, let's just go, let's work out, let's just walk on the treadmill. And ever since you pulled me inside, I was going to the gym a lot. I was going every day, twice a day. And then I found out about Group X classes, which is live classes. So for a year or so, I was doing my own workout, and I always used to see this room of old ladies. I used to see a room of old ladies working out to aerobics. And then one day I popped into my first Zumba class. I was a back row diva. I stood in the far corner of the class. I never used to do anything. And then I realized like, hey, I met somebody on the right and left of me, and they're in their 20s, they're in college. So I was like, wait, these Group X classes are not only for older people. I noticed that it had a lot to do with our age group and our people, our genre. And I've been going to Zumba, and then I ended up taking more Zumba classes at other fitness gyms. And ever since then, I had this one instructor that was like, we're having Zumba instructor sessions to become an instructor. Do you want to take it? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. That's how I am. I'm just a go-getter. And ever since then, the rest is history. And I'm so thankful that I took that journey.
That's so exciting. I love to hear that. So, with the COVID-19 pandemic, um, so due to this COVID outbreak, did you ever fear potentially losing your job, or did you always know that there was a transition for you, or were you scared? What was that like for you?
When COVID hit back in March, I call it doomsday. It was crazy. I remember the exact date, March 16th. It was a Sunday. I actually teach on Sunday. So right after my Sunday class, one of my students was like, hey, there's the virus from China, the virus that started in China is coming to America, and it's going to come to Hawaii. What are we going to do? What is the gym's going to do? And for me, I was like, oh, no, it's not going to happen to us. But when I found out and the state of Hawaii did their shutdown, I was flawed. Like, I was literally flabbergasted. I was like, they shut us out. We had no contact. We had to stay home. People had work the next day that we couldn't. Everything was silent. Like, it literally was like a time of like an eye-opener time, because then I started thinking, oh my God, I lived on seeing people every day. I interaction with one-on-one for Zumba. And then I was like, I'm not a tech savvy kind of person. So as COVID went on, I had to realize, and I had to do my research on a ring light and a popular webcam. It was a system. We had Zoom, we had the Cast network, we had all these formats that we could have used, but nobody knew how to use it. So the first month, I call it like a doo-doo show. It was like really gung-ho. It was really bad. But as the month went on, Zumba got their act together, and they came out with a system to do an online. They teamed up with Zoom. So what we're doing now on Zoom, so amazing, by the way. Zumba zoomed up with Zoom. So we used to call it Zumba, Zoomba. But basically, we do a lot of like quarantine virtual classes. So I had to adapt from an everyday lifestyle of seeing people to having it ripped off the shelves from us, because it was really hard during that transition. But we're here now,
Right?
tech savvy. I'm like in this box.
Right? No, in your box. So how was your class size affected? Did you notice like less people, more people having to help, because you did say you had a more of an older population and younger population mixture. Was it hard for you to like get them to be able to join on Zoom? Like, how did that work?
Oh my gosh. Age difference and technology did not go well together.
Okay.
I'm over here literally learning. I'm literally over here learning how to work this Zoom system while trying to teach. And I pull a lot of age range. Like my class is not always all of us millennials, you know? I pull some of the older genres and the older ladies that remember doing curves and like, all those other aerobics, but they're a loyal student to me. So I had to literally, like a handful of students, call them up and I would be like, oh my God, okay, so you see that, Kathy? You see that button? You have to click on that. Type in this password. Like it was pulling teeth to get my students onto my Zoom. But it's a learning process. I'm still learning till this day. Like I will be doing a class and all of a sudden my music will just shut off. And everybody's like, and I'm like this too, like sometimes I just want to close the computer. But I can't. So at the end of the day, especially with technology and my student ages, I had to realize how to adapt and just sync the two together. But like I would say, right now at this moment, I have not mastered it because technology is technology. One day we can just all go blackout and we
Yeah.
have nothing. But I'm learning, we're learning,
Gotta
coping.
get there.
Right.
Right. So what are some of your pros and cons? Obviously there's probably many of them, but what are some of your biggest things that you do not like, about the virtual, and what are some things that you do like with doing the virtual learning?
We'll start with every pros, there's cons, right? So we'll start with the pros. What I do like and what I love actually about the being virtual now is just the fact that it just shows that in life things can come our way. With the COVID, we had this problem, everybody freaked out, what are we gonna do? And like now I have ladies that learn technology, they feel like, yeah, maybe they could do things that they thought they couldn't do. So I see the growth in my students, I see the growth in myself. Like that's one of my favorite pros, is seeing everybody through this quarantine and this pandemic grow. Because if we were to flashback from last year and we asked yourself like, let's do a Zoom conference call on a virtual live meeting, we would be like, what? We would just all call each other and do a three-way call. It's not like that. And I have ladies now telling me like, hey, you can change the settings so that your background music zones out from you when you talk. And I'm like, oh.
Let me figure that out.
Yes, I'm like, where, girl? I was just telling you how to turn on the computer. But that's one of the pros. And my second biggest pro that I think I've gained off of this pandemic is just loyalty, especially with my students. I see the drive that they do in wanting to work out in Zumba and it doesn't matter if I can't see them personally in a face-to-face interaction. I still see that they want to take the steps to even do Zumba on the computer. So I get that loyalty, that love, and that support from everyone. you know it's like it's a big different energy. It just says to me that you don't have to be in the same class to feel the love and the support from the students. It's crazy. um right, for sure. That's like my two main pros. My cons, on the other hand, let me let me flip through all these pages. Yeah. No, but with the cons, I would just say that a few of the cons would just be like adapting. It's hard for people to go for a change. I had students that did my in-person classes every Monday night in the gym. You have a set schedule. Excuse me. It's really good for them to it's very like hard. The cons is adapting to the new technology. Second of all, the cons would be sometimes you may have the best Wi-Fi in town. You may pay Spectrum, you may pay, the telecoms, but one day you'll just have a bad apple of a technology. And like, I've had classes where we're like literally shaking our booties, going fast. I'm dripping, and then choom, freaking flatline. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like you just stand there and you're like, I'm so sorry. And everybody's standing there like, you know, it's just hard. It's hard to literally, when technology gets involved, the cons about this whole virtualness of classes is you have, it's all in technology's hand. You know, if you have a power outage, your class is out. You know, if you're everything, it just all lines up. You have to just hope and pray that every class comes by, you paid your electric bill. But also, right. And also the other con I would say would for sure be the motivation of my students, the drive. I can't yell at you guys and pull you guys and be right by you while we're doing the Zumba class and be like, come on, Kathy, let's get this on. You know, you can do it. You're motivated. Because I used to be the type to pull everyone and just be like, you know what, you got this, you know? Like I'm literally standing right by you for it. And I'll be like, you got this. Sorry.
No, you're
Riddick.
good. Like, I want to be in the video.
Right? I'm like, I had to tell him we're doing a recorded interview right now, buddy. Relax.
So cute.
But anyways, yeah, so the cons would be totally just motivation wise. It's hard for me to tell the students like right by them and yelling at them like, you got this, push, how bad do you want it? Because in all actuality, they can literally just mute us, you know?
Right.
Right.
Like, yeah, don't want to hear you, you know, like
Right.
crazy. That is so crazy. So with that being said, do you have a different population of people on your Zoom? Like, I mean, do you have people from all over now versus just in Hawaii? Because I know you are in California. So now have you branched out and, you know,
Like,
your...
for sure. I mean, back in Hawaii, I was in the quarantine and I was doing what I had to do. You know, it was all my Hawaii based people were in Hawaii, but I came up here to visit the family, the Ohana here in California. And, you know, you're going to the park and you're running and you're exercising, you're going to Trader Joe's and the supermarket to work out. And then you meet somebody, you know, I'm wearing this shirt and in the back it says Zumba instructor, right? It's like a little like warm up jacket. And like I would have a couple ladies, I'll be like, hey, are you a Zumba instructor? Like, where do you teach online? You know, it's so hard because they'll be like, where do you teach online? What format? And even that makes me realize like, oh my God, it used to be like, what park do you teach at or what gym, you know? Now they're asking me, which is good though, because that means that I can just give them my technology info and they'll just hop on. But I now have a mixture, and because of technology, like just the other night I hosted a class and my other friends that live in New Orleans, they had friends that wanted to take it. And obviously the time zones is such a hard like thing to match, you know? But I had someone from New York, from New Orleans, Hawaii, where I'm from, California. So technology is amazing. That's a pro because it's just amazing that you can pull anybody and anybody from anywhere in the world, you know? I even have my students from Japan and it's like, it makes me feel so good that they take the effort and the motivation to come, even if their time zone is 18 hours ahead or 4 hours ahead, they still want to work out. And for me, I step back and I'm like, wow, that is amazing, you know?
That is so good to hear, you know?
Connections, girl, yes.
Right? It's expanding your whole entire population of people that you could go and for Zumba. One other thing I have to ask is,
Right.
so after, you know, if this COVID goes away within whatever and things start to do go back to normal,
Right.
do you think you would prefer to do just back in, you know, in person and get rid of the virtual, or do you think you're going to keep both or just prefer one over the other? You put that into thought, you know?
I mean, with this new pandemic, totally, I know that if things settle down, it will never be the same, you know? Like, I know that there's some older students of mine in the older generation that know that this virus is real and it's real, it's scary. And basically I know that when everything does go back together, I'm still gonna hold both virtual because I seated myself with people from around the world, but also I have my home base too. So I think I'm gonna try pull both for both sides.
I think that's
especially when like everything goes back to that normal, but it will never be the same, but we just gotta work with it, you know?
Yes, I totally understand where you're coming from. Well, thank you
Right.
so much for taking this time to do an interview with me.
Of
I
course.
appreciate it. Stop this recording.